Definitely not that, Ryan.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Load
And
them up.
not right before bedtime either. That's the worst.
Load them up on caffeine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess that Ryan shouldn't be drinking that right before bedtime either.
I just drink so much of it, it just drowns out everything. So.
Yeah. Like I can barely hear you. It's going by so fast.
Yeah. Memory loss. Nick.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
What was I going to say? Like,
no secret safe on Wake Up with Giants TV.
If you wonder why I'm wearing the hat, it's because it's to keep all these bright ideas in.
Yeah.
Well, that was the corny dad joke. He needed that because he was there.
You have to. Nick is just going on vacation, having some fun this week, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
We're in Disneyland.
What?
So, yeah.
You know, I was disappointed though, because I asked Nick this morning if he was going to be, coming live this morning from Disney, and he said, yeah, from the hotel room. I'm like, dude, why didn't you go beside Mickey or Minnie or someone? Right. Invite us in, right?
Yeah.
Hi, Amy.
I heard they can get pretty violent if you steal the show, though. I don't want to steal the show. Well, good. Let's dive in. Let's dive into some topic. Our good friend, we got a great friend here, Melissa Ross. We've known Melissa for years now. How long has it been? It's been about 3 years, roughly, right? Gosh, I remember you and I talked. Yeah.
Has it been that long?
It's when I shaved my face in my brother's basement when I was living right after the divorce, 2019.
Yeah.
And I'm living in the basement. I shaved my face, and you're like, "Hey, where's Nick?" Nobody recognized me.
Then from that point forward, we said he can never shave again.
Yeah. Nope, got to keep it.
Yeah.
So now I shave my back. It's better. Less visible.
Well, the women probably appreciate that more.
Yeah. They do. All right. So Melissa Ross, she's got 20 years experience in the field of yoga and mindfulness. She's a leading authority on healing and growth. And as a leader and the founder of Breathe With Me Yoga, Melissa has influenced thousands of kids to connect with their mind, body, and spirit through breathing, relaxation, and mindfulness. As a speaker and coach and author and the founder of Rise to Wellness, Inc., she uses her own experience with postpartum depression and anxiety to work through a wide range of individuals, inspiring them to now I'm lost, to navigate, overcome stress, anxiety, and depression. See, when I'm reading, I'm like Anchorman. I'll read every word. Ryan, just don't put anything in there. Right?
Steve Hardison does that to me. He'll put stuff on the chat.
Yeah.
And then I just throw it on up.
And he'll say, don't read it. He'll put it there and then he'll say, don't read it. Yep.
Yeah. Don't show this. Don't read this. And it's fine.
So after helping her son navigate anxiety at an early age and spending time in the classroom with so many children, it became Melissa's biggest passion to help children and their parents navigate their way through anxiety, bullying, and positivity. You definitely want to get over that positivity, right? She's united countless families, helping them to burn off stress energy and listen to their bodies while also bringing them hope. It has also become her passion to help all women step into their purpose and with power and clarity. And so she not only writes a regular mental health column for Harmony Chronicles magazine, Harmony Chronicles magazine, but she also is a key component in the creation and editing of the magazine and the executive director of the magazine's parent company, the Pierce Media Group. She's the host of Storytime Yoga on the Roku, Apple, and Amazon in the Limelight channel. And she's an international best-selling author, an award-winning speaker and entrepreneur, a 200-hour RYT, a 95-hour RCYT, and a proud mother of 2. So welcome to the show, Melissa.
Thank you.
It's good to have you back.
Yeah. It's great to be here. Gosh, I feel like it's been ages since I've seen you guys.
It has been ages, but we're like there was no gap, right? So here we are.
Yeah.
So let's dive in. Usually we'll run the show in the 12 journeys, and we'll try and visit those throughout. And we'll pull that in as much as possible. But on this, we're going to talk about how to help children struggling with that. So maybe we can tie it into helping to recognize maybe the unconsciousness that maybe parents and children have, the awareness and awakening around that, eliminating maybe judgment. So maybe we'll play with it that way, is talking about how to recognize automatic behaviors in kids and maybe as our parents. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I love that you started there because that's one thing I love to talk about when we talk about anxiety specifically in children is that most of the time it shows as a behavior. We think that they're exhibiting poor behavior. So we're punishing them for that poor behavior. And most times when children are experiencing anxiety, that poor behavior is a manifestation of that anxiety and they don't know what to do with it. They don't know that it is anxiety. They don't recognize it. The parents aren't recognizing it. They're having those feelings inside of them and they don't know what to do with it. So, and it's different for every child. So, lots of times my son would just get crawl under a blanket, or he would just he wouldn't do anything. He would come home, he wouldn't want to go out and play with his friends, he wouldn't want to go out with the family. And so it was like, we have this family gathering, we've got to go. No, I just want to sit here under the blanket. He wouldn't get ready, he wouldn't
Mm,
it was just, he wouldn't do anything to get him out that door. And so as a parent, you're lighting a fire under him, right? You're getting
yeah.
mad, you're getting upset. But that was his form of anxiety. He
Let,
was so anxious about going out and getting to the function that he
yeah.
literally would not do any of those things that you asked him to do to get to go. But my daughter was opposite. Hers was anger. So she was having anxiety about something, she'd get angry and she'd yell and she'd scream and she'd have a tantrum. And as a parent, you're thinking, oh my gosh, like, you just need to behave, and you're punishing that thing, that tantrum, that anger, when that's not that. It was anxiety for her and she didn't know what to do with
Man,
those feelings.
my daughter will say things like, "My stomach hurts, my tummy hurts,"
Yeah.
or she used to, not anymore. Now she
Yeah.
recognizes it. But what you're describing here is so important because as parents, we start teaching them how to judge themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because now our voice becomes their voice, and we teach them, don't cry, don't be sad, don't do this. And then they start to judge themselves around that. And that's where the awakening around it is really important, because we want to teach them tools to not do that. Vanessa Browers this morning did a post on her daughter, and there was a big thunderstorm. And I think it's her partner who was asking her daughter, do you want me to comfort you? And she's like, no, leave me alone. I want to be scared. Like, she wants to
Yeah.
feel scared, right? Which is so powerful because
Yeah.
that's what feelings are for. Do you want to continue
Yeah.
from there? Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I love that you said that too, because I just had this breakthrough with my daughter last week. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been navigating something with her. We've been navigating some different schooling for her. She's tested as gifted, but not tested high enough to get the gifted programming that's within our school system. And so we're navigating some private schooling for her and looking into what that looks like. And she's having some conversations with her father that are, to get his permission to go. And I'm like mama bear jumping in to help, right? And not realizing that my helping is making it worse for her.
Hmm.
And we literally had this breakthrough. I'm trying to help her and giving her all this advice and I'm giving her these examples of things she can say and how can she could say it. And she just looked at me and she said, you have to stop telling me what to say. It's not helping.
Hmm.
He's going to know it's not my words. And she looked at me and she said, can't you just see I have to prove to myself that I can do this myself?
Dang, dude.
And I
Yeah.
was like, geez, she's about to be 11. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, she just taught me a huge lesson right
They
there.
they do have an inner knowing, right? Like they know what to do, and then we, based on our teachings, kind of teach that out of them in a lot of ways.
We
But
do.
they have the languaging for it. Like Capri at the pool the other day, she was trying to stand on this float, and she says, I'm not trying, I'm practicing succeeding.
I
Right.
love that.
And like, that's not something I taught her. Like, I didn't teach her that, but she has this inner knowing. And so as parents, it's like recognizing that these independent kids, they already come equipped. In a way, we want to honor that and help them to navigate it, but not like be their voice, so to speak. Right. I don't know. Maybe I'm off on that. Maybe some parents are going to freak out right now and say, Nick, dude, you're way off. What do you think about that?
I don't think so. And something that I learned, I was talking about that situation with my daughter, with my coach, and something that I learned is, I mean, I would feel exhausted in dealing with those things as behaviors as they were growing up, right? And I would always say, oh my gosh, it's just so exhausting. But something that I learned is helping is exhausting. And we're not here to help them and give them the words that they need to say. We're here to love and support them in what they're doing and how they're moving forward. And that just put on a light bulb for me. I was blown away by that. Helping is exhausting. So if you're feeling exhausting and moving through that with your kids, take a big step back and look at yourself to see how
Yeah.
you're showing up there, right?
Yeah.
And I love what
What?
Amy's saying here. Yeah, we can give them the tools, allow them to be in the messy middle. It's important in them feeling powerful, and that's the thing. When you're helping them and thinking you're helping them and giving them all of the answers, you're disempowering them. You're not giving them power.
Yeah. My daughter Ava, she's different from Capri. Capri's really outgoing. Ava's really quiet.
Yeah,
Ava loves to play video games, Minecraft. She's an incredible builder. I have in my mind what I think should be happening socially, like she should be
yeah,
connecting with friends and hanging out. Yet any pressure I put on her with that is my own pressure, which makes her start to feel shame
yeah.
around that, as though she's doing something wrong. Because when I check with her, she's great. She's like, I
Mm-hmm.
feel good. I'm golden. But when she compares against what I think, then there begins to be that shame, right?
Yeah,
Like I'm not measuring up to what dad thinks I should be. And so I have to be really conscious and careful as a parent to not put my needs and wants and judgments on my kids because she's not feeling that. I am.
yeah,
So any judgment would be coming from me, which can lead her to feel grief and shame and all the things, right? Which takes us into the journey of grief. And so what would you advise or share around that, around helping parents navigate that sadness or grief or depression that might come up from how they feel about themselves? Does that make sense?
yeah. It does make sense, and I think the most important thing is open conversation and letting your kids know that you're a safe space to come and talk about how they're feeling. And I mean, I have that's something I've always striven to have with my kids is that space where they know that they can tell me absolutely anything. And it's funny, one of the things that we've implemented here is a safe zone, and my kids will actually ask me if they can open the safe bubble or if they can open the safe zone. And in that zone they're allowed to say anything, whether it's swearing, whatever it is, they're allowed to say anything that they're feeling about that thing at the time. And
I'd
then
be nervous with my kids.
well,
They'd
I
be
know, and my kids have done that
they'd be
too.
like, what
Like
the heck?
they've done it. They've opened up the safe zone, and
Yeah.
both of them, and they'll be like, "The effing this," and then I'm like, "Whoa."
Wow. Wow.
There
Yeah.
were some powerful feelings, but the thing we have to realize is they have powerful feelings just like adults. And we I mean, they feel grief, they feel judgment, they are hard on themselves sometimes. And yes, most of the time they've learned that from us, but we have to recognize that their feelings are just as big as our feelings.
Mm.
And as adults, we've most of us have learned how to see those feelings and know those feelings and see what they are and deal with them, right? And I
Yeah.
say most of us because some of us are still working as adults towards that, right? But
Right.
I mean, and there's a good point too. As adults, if we're still working towards figuring out those feelings and
Yeah.
moving through them, can you imagine what a child is feeling when they have all those big emotions and they can't express themselves and they don't know what to do? How else are they going to express it unless you open up that open circle, that safe space where they can just say anything and not be in trouble for it?
Yeah, yeah, that is beautiful. I have a 16-year-old son, same thing, right? He's in a different stage of his life
Yeah.
where his friends are all kind of exploring what they want to be and do and just kind of having fun too. But even being able to just talk about whatever's going on for him in a safe space where it's not going to come at him, he's not going to be judged for it. I mean, he's shared some pretty big things with me,
Mm-hmm.
which feels good as a parent because I know exactly what's going on with my son. I know if I need to worry or have a conversation with him, but for the most part, he knows what he wants, and he's got some direction around that. So me trusting him creates more trust in himself, I think.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Nick, you don't shame. Like I see Nick quite a bit and
Mm-hmm.
have spent a lot of time with him, and he doesn't shame his kids. Now he'll tease them because that's what the Smiths do. Like that's like it's part of the
If
family.
you're getting
But
teased, you're part of the family, right?
yeah, I mean that's how it is. But
Yeah.
um, he'll go on walks with them or go do something that they want to do and get out, just have a conversation, and there's no judgment. It's just allowing them to have space to be able to talk to their dad. And so when hard stuff comes up, guess what they want to do? They'll come share it with their dad,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
pretty special.
And I love that Nick used the word trust, because I think this is such a hard thing to do, but I think it's really important to let your kids know that you trust that they know what's good for them. And it's so hard to do. It's probably the hardest thing I've done as a parent, is just be like, okay, I trust that you know what's good for you, and just butt out. Because
Yeah.
as parents, we want to guide them where we think it's going to be good for them, right? For as an example, with this schooling right now, I want to guide my daughter towards the best schooling that she's going to get, the best education she's going to get. But it ultimately has to be her decision, and it's so hard to step back and just let your 11-year-old make this decision that, you know, could affect her entire future, right?
Yeah. Well, Amy just hit on suppression, right? There was a statement or a quote that said that expression is the opposite of depression. And so suppression is kind of along those lines of
Mm-hmm.
depression. But it's this idea, like when I was growing up, I didn't have that. I didn't feel that safety around sharing anything. So I hid a lot of things. And so even going through a relationship, there were a lot of things that I hid, right? It's like, how can you have a healthy relationship when you're not expressing, or you
Mm-hmm.
don't feel safe expressing? And so, I mean, I say that because I'm single, and now it's safe to say that because I don't have anybody to account to around that. So
Yeah,
it's easy,
yeah,
right? So I think expression is important because it gets it out. It gets it out here. We put it on the table. We can talk about anything. I mean, Ryan and I, we put a lot of things on the table. Melissa, you've experienced that, where we've had some real heavy things. You can just set it on the table and talk about it
yeah,
from a space of neutrality. And that's where I think it moves us into a space of acceptance, which is the journey of acceptance, because there's room for all of it: the good, the bad, the positive, the negative, the useful, the non-useful. It just is what it is. So now what do we do with it from there? Can you speak to that a little bit?
yeah. And what I want to speak to first, though, is something that came to me when you were talking about that hiding those things and not being able to express them as a child, and then doing the same as an adult in your marriage, right? And that resonates with me, because as a child I did the same thing. I hid being bullied from my parents. I co-wrote a book, and my mother I'm in my 40s. My mother found out in my 40s that as a child I was bullied, and was
Mm,
like, oh, and then all of a sudden wanted to talk about it, right? and
mm.
and was like, oh my god, that happened. I had no idea that happened to you. I hid a lot of stuff as a child, and the same thing. And I mean, hiding things in your marriage and in your relationships could be so small as hiding that you went shopping today, and saying,
Yeah,
and right. And lots of women brag about how, oh, I'll just put it in my closet and my
my
husband
my
won't notice,
wife
right?
my wife at the time, she would say, like, I'd say, "Is that a new dress?" Because she'd go shopping,
Yeah,
and she'd say, "This old thing." Like, that's how you get
yeah,
away with it.
right. Or I
I'm
know,
like,
it's been in
dude,
my
I know
closet for
that's a brand
years.
new dress.
Yeah, or it's been in my closet for a year. I just took the
Yeah,
tags off it today, right?
right.
And it's the first time I've worn it, right? But that comes from hiding all of that stuff as
Yeah.
children. And I see this big cycle there, because as children we did that, right? And then
Mm,
as adults we did it, and now we're teaching that to our children, who are going to turn around as children and start to hide
yeah,
things, and then as adults do it. And it's this big cycle if we don't
right.
break it. It's
No,
up to
that
us to break it and let our kids know that they can tell us anything as children now, and take our own judgments and our own hiding of things
yeah.
away.
Yeah, that's beautiful, because that breaking of the cycle is simply that. It's a changing of the behaviors.
Yeah.
But it's hard to change behaviors if you're not aware of them, which goes back to the unconsciousness journey, because we get so automated in our way of being. It's important for us as parents to be conscious too. Like, the
Yeah.
more conscious we become, the more space we can create for consciousness in our kids.
Yeah, and
And
I just saw that comment from Amy saying that we
yeah,
do it for so long that it becomes unconscious, right?
yeah,
And so that ties into what you were saying, Nick, is if it becomes unconscious, it's up to us to uncover that. And we talk about how coaches and mentors help us through all of these things, and even as coaches, we have coaches, right? And to this day, I am still uncovering things with my own coach, and would be like, oh my god, I never saw that, you know what I
mm,
mean? And still he'll uncover something that's unconscious within me, and that helps to break that cycle. All of a
yeah.
sudden that's uncovered. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. I see that now, and now that's now a broken cycle, because I will break that now, and that will never continue on with my kids again.
I'm having this vision. You know the what is it? The Newtons, where the ball drops and it'll hit and push the other one out, and then it'll come back and do it again, and then it'll just go back and forth. Um, I imagine as coaches, like having a coach that's not in your relationship gives you that bounce that you need, but it's not so frequent that you're like rattling apart, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas if I just had this vision this morning, if two coaches got married, it might be very destructive, because then you'd have that constant feedback where it's just like bah, 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 you know what I mean? So
yeah.
like there's a balancing of, honoring the friendships and the relationships, but coaches have this tendency, because they are neutral to your situation,
Hmm.
that they can come in and drop a bomb on you,
Yeah,
and it's not as impactful on you, because you're looking for it, but two, they're not attached to your emotions and your state of being, right?
yeah.
You are. Philip Weech this week hit me with one that was powerful. It was that, if your emotions are taking over, your feelings are taking over, then your being, your feelings, will
Hmm.
simply don't be your feelings, be your word, right? If your word and your commitment is to do this thing, but your emotions are overriding that, then don't be your emotions. Let them be there, but be the word and finish out the thing. Which for
Yeah.
me, that was an impact, right?
Yeah, that I saw that. I saw you post that, and that was a huge impact for me over the last few weeks too.
Yeah.
Because I was talking with my coach about emotional eating and what that looked like, and we were talking about the same thing. You have this fitness goal, right? And then you're getting into an emotion, and you're using the food to soothe that emotion rather than facing the emotion.
Mm,
Right? You're covering it up because you don't want to face what emotion is there.
right.
So and you know what? When we do that, when we when we beat our emotion, and when we eat to cover up the emotion, or when we have some other habit to cover up emotions, and not feeling the emotions, our kids see that too, and our kids learn that. So
I
I've seen that in kids as well. I've seen kids
yeah,
emotionally eating, and
yeah, they
I've
do.
heard kids say that, can we get a cake tonight, or can we get donuts because I need to eat my feelings? I've actually heard kids say that,
Huh.
and
I
it breaks
wish
my heart.
I wish feelings tasted like donuts and ice cream.
Right.
They're freaking delicious,
They
right?
taste
Right.
like they
We
taste like black cherry.
Yeah, we would face them more often, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
Wouldn't
like
we?
Monster Energy.
Yeah.
Why am I so anxious, right?
It's weird.
Weird. I don't get
I
it.
don't numb out with anything.
Amy Bernier's post, I'm cooking or eating s'mores. I just pictured a campfire and
Inside
marshmallows
her
toast.
inside of her house.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
over the fireplace. Yeah, that's the feelings, just creating the room for everything. So it allows them to know that they're not broken. They're just simply going through a normal range of emotions, which have a huge spectrum, from the deepest and heaviest emotions to the most light, the most beautiful emotions. There's a spectrum, and you're not meant to flatline that. So I think so many people are like, if I could just be neutral, but then you're not feeling the good ones either,
Yeah.
right? So I love the idea of just keeping it, neutral, creating room for it. That's part of acceptance. When I use the phrase acceptance, that's what we mean, is just there's room for all of it. Do you agree with that, or do you have
Yeah.
a different view of that?
No, I do agree with that, and I think that's something that's important to teach our kids too. That
Yeah.
it's okay to have all of those emotions. It's okay to go through all of those things. It's okay to not know how to deal with those things too. And that's part of acceptance too, right? Is
Yeah.
knowing that I
Yeah.
have these emotions, knowing that I don't know how to deal with them, that I acted in this way,
Yeah.
and not punish those things. So like if my
Mhm.
daughter acted out in anger and started screaming at people, then and there, when she became aware, she knew that that was too much for her. She needed to go take a break before she could talk about whatever the thing was, right? And so
Yeah.
she would just go to her bedroom. That was her safe space. She would go to her bedroom. And for her acceptance looked like, okay, I've done this. I'm going to go to my bedroom. I'm going to calm down. And she's in the safety of knowing that she's not going to get in trouble for it because
Mhm.
we have that thing in place. But for her, acceptance looks like, okay, I did that. I got angry, but now I know that I can go to my room, I can calm down, and then I can let mom know when I'm calm and when I want to talk about it. And I know that there's safety in that,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
that's big. Ryan, what? Go ahead.
Well, when I was a kid, I didn't know where to place the emotion either. So a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
it came out in in anger. I didn't know where to place it. So
Yeah.
I'd blow up and freak out, and not in a crazy way, but sometimes. And so my parents, the only thing that I could think to do was to it's the fight or flight type thing. But then I would just leave. Like I would go to my room, and be angry or cry or whatever in my room. My parents would then follow me and like try to nag it out, like what, like try to resolve it right then, instead of letting me, just be angry for a little bit and then
Yeah.
come back and try to. So sometimes, we have to remember that as parents too, is to allow them some of that space, or have those conversations where, look, it's okay to feel this. It's okay to then go calm down, or whatever needs to happen, so that then it can be addressed. As I still do that to this day as an adult. Like if there's a
Mm-hmm.
situation where I've hit my limit, I'll walk away, but I'll tell the person, I need to pause. I need to walk away for a minute, or else it's not going to be pretty. So I
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
stop right now, because I know myself, and I'll know I'll do something probably out of anger, spite, rage, whatever. So just give me a minute, then we'll come back together when my emotions have kind of gone down. But I didn't have that, I don't know, the verbalization, I guess, when I was a kid, and it took me till I was 40
Yeah,
ish.
the
Yeah.
languaging, right? The it is like learning a new language.
It is.
There's a big push in psychology today for reparenting, and many of us put the parenting responsibility on our partners, right? We'll be like, well, you should have looked after me or shouldn't have let me do that. Like they're our parent. And now we're no longer in a relationship with a friend and a partner. We're in a relationship with our parent, which kind of sucks, right? This is the whole reason we got married in the first place, is to not do that.
Yeah.
So the responsibility comes back to us parenting ourselves and teaching ourselves this new language. And the same way that you would teach your kids is the way that you teach your inner child, the unhealed part. Do you have
Yeah.
something to share around that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. You know, what came to my mind is timeouts for some reason. You remember timeouts when we were kids? It was like a
Yeah,
negative
yeah,
thing. You had to go sit in the timeout chair, or you had to put your nose on the wall, or
yeah.
whatever it was.
My first grade teacher had a paddle board with holes drilled in it. I don't want
Oh,
that
that's
kind of
good.
timeout
No,
anymore.
no, no. But see,
Yeah.
Yeah,
timeout used to mean something negative. And in my house, it doesn't mean it's something negative. I mean, we had a timeout chair when our kids were little, when they were little. But in our house now, I mean, as an adult, have you ever put yourself in a timeout? Because we use timeout as a
yeah,
positive word here. We use
yeah,
timeout as a positive word here. So as an adult, as a parent, if I'm on fire and I know I need to walk away and think about something before I continue with the kids, I just
yeah,
say to the kids, I'm putting myself in a timeout. I'll be back. And I go to my room.
yeah.
And I just sit quietly and I think about it. And my daughter's doing the same. She doesn't call it a timeout, but she's doing the same. And
Actually,
so
yeah, yeah.
I,
That's
you know,
powerful.
I think that that's a positive way to say I just need a minute.
Yeah,
Just that I'm putting myself in a timeout. I'll be back. I just need
yeah,
a minute before I can continue with this. I think it's time that we start taking the negative punishment connotation away and start putting a positive spin
yeah. I work
around
with a
that.
gentleman right now that He will push and push and push and push. And the other day I said, look, we need to stop the conversation. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not ready to have this conversation. And he kept going. And I got a little firmer, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're hearing me. I need to pause. And he jabbed one more time with this. So it was almost like Dumb and Dumber, like where he says, oh, so you're saying there's a chance, right? And
Yeah.
it's like that one little straw was like, you need
Yeah.
to get out of my office right now, right?
Yeah.
Which is the space of honoring what I need. It's okay, and this is what we get to teach as our kids. It's okay for you to say no or stop to parents, to
Mm-hmm.
people who are pushing boundaries or things that are uncomfortable to you. And it's okay to voice that, because in the past, this is a new learning for me. In the past, I
Yeah.
would have just let that fly, and then afterward been really pissed off at myself for not saying something or doing something about it. But now I don't. I matter enough that what I need gets to be said.
Yeah.
And what I'm practicing is not doing it from the space of being an asshole so much, because sometimes I would do that. Now I'm doing a little more gently.
Yeah, and as a parent, it's okay to use those words with your kids too. I'm not ready to have that conversation right now. Like, how many
Yeah.
times do our kids come? Can I have Snapchat? Can I do this? Can I do that? And can
Mhm.
I have a sleepover here or whatever? If I'm not ready to have that conversation right now. It's okay to
Yeah.
say that to your to your kids.
How do
Yeah.
You
you,
know?
Melissa, like, this came to my mind just as I'm thinking about like the child parent or parent child relationship where you're not supposed to talk back to your parents, or you're not supposed to, and sometimes saying something as a kid, they don't know how to language it, and if you haven't
Hmm.
had that relationship where you have the safe space to open up and stuff like that, what can a parent do to create that safe space? And like from a kid's perspective, like, I don't know. I think like sometimes that they're scared that they'll get in trouble for saying something,
Yeah,
or they don't even know the right way to approach it with a mom or a dad, because it'll be viewed as talking back or disrespect or something like that.
yeah.
So what are some tools on both ends of that spectrum?
Yeah, well, I think for the child's side, I think they need to see us modeling that first. They need to trust and see that it is safe. So if they push the limit a little bit, then don't get angry, right? Back off a bit, and as a parent, understand that they're feeling those emotions and where they're coming from, but also look inside as a parent. Look inside yourself and really evaluate. You may think that you're helping, or you may think that you're not judging, or you're allowing them to have that decision when you're really not. I
Mm.
actually was just at the eye doctor with my daughter this past week, and she was picking out some new glasses, and she had found a frame that she liked, and there was different colors, and the she was looking for a certain color, and the girl there, she had come up with two that were close, but she didn't have pictures of them. She had pictures of one, she didn't have pictures of the other, and she really wanted, the lady wanted my daughter to see them on her face. So she said, I've ordered in both pairs, but you'll have to come back. And we're about a half an hour away from the eye doctor. And my daughter said, first thing she said is, it's a half an hour, I don't want to come back. So she came, she showed her the photo of one, and my daughter said, yep, that's great, I'll take it. Now, keep in mind, my daughter's just about to turn 11. So, mom's there helping to pick as well. So the lady's really adamant that she doesn't think that my daughter should be picking this from, she thinks she should see it on her face. So I start trying to convince my daughter about ways that we could help her to get back there for that half an hour drive. We could do this. And she kept telling me reasons why that wasn't going to work. And she was adamant that she wanted them. I didn't step back and just go, okay, that's what you want. Okay. Well, that turned into a tantrum. My daughter had a tantrum right there, started crying, started telling me all these reasons why it wasn't going to work. And then
Mm.
now I'm stepping back going, why is she having a tantrum? Well, I didn't listen to her. That's why
Okay.
she was having the tantrum. I didn't let her just say, that's the one I want, and I don't want to drive back here the half an hour.
Let's hang
Okay.
on to that. That needs to be highlighted right there. The listening, the importance of being heard.
Yeah.
Right. I have a sister, not older, younger sister, Brooke. She's in Switzerland. She shared that she went to a therapist, and she's like, I think I have bipolar disorder. And the therapist said, you don't have bipolar disorder. You're just not being heard. And here people think that somebody's bipolar, and then they won't listen to them, and they make
Yes.
that, it's crazy making. Like we throw a tantrum and they're like, look at you, see, that's what I'm talking about, you're
Yeah.
just crazy. And then you get gaslighted, and it's like, I didn't even create this situation.
Yeah.
Right. So the importance of hearing somebody, it's amazing how soothing just listening is. Like, you don't have to respond, you don't have to do anything, just recognize that I've been heard. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like my kids, I'll say, let me make sure I heard you, and I'll repeat back what they said, and they'll say, yeah, that's right, or they'll correct it. And
Mm-hmm.
then that way I can say, okay, I have an understanding. Right. But now they feel heard, and I don't have to do anything with it. I don't have to resolve it. It's simply, they just wanted to be heard. And like your daughter, if we're not heard, we as adults will throw tantrums. Like, you are not listening to me. Right.
Yep. Yep. And allow them to feel heard, but then as the parent, allow them to make that decision, then turn around and throw the
Mm,
trust, right? Give the
yeah.
trust that she knows what's best for her. Give her
Yeah.
all the information. Okay, if you pick those ones and you try them on and you don't like them, it will be too late. So
Yeah.
these are your two options. You can drive the half an hour back here to try on the two pairs, or you can choose this one now, and if you put it on your face and you don't like it, you have it for the next year. It's on your
Yeah.
face.
That's
and
Melissa,
and
beautiful.
let her decide.
Melissa, I wanted to just highlight that, like sometimes I think as parents, um, we haven't been taught these things.
No.
So we're
No.
trying our best, but we're playing from the space of what we've been taught or what we know. And so we're doing the best within the abilities that we have as parents. My hat's off to you, because as you became aware, and as you became aware, you weren't as aware up front. Then as the situation started playing out and it was happening, then you're like, ah, or hindsight, you can then see it and then go, oh, now I can make an adjustment. Now I can make a change because of the awareness. And that's amazing.
Mm,
Like you could get really down or hard on yourself as a parent because you feel like you're failing. The trick is, it's situational. It's like, to me, it's like baseball. Pitches come at you. You see different pitchers. You see different experiences every time you get up to the plate. And sometimes it can take, years and years and years of stepping up to the plate to improve your skills or to find that awareness. But once you become aware, then that's where you start putting into play these new practices and things like that. So like, I just wanted to highlight that. I think it's easy for parents to beat themselves up, but
Mm-hmm.
once you become aware, if you keep doing it, then yeah, I mean, like, then that's ignorance, I guess. But you can grow and step into a new relationship, not only with yourself but with your kids as you become aware.
this is,
Yeah. And then
yeah.
I want to say two things off of that. One
Yep.
is that I did not become aware in that situation. I was told that by my coach afterwards
Hmm.
when I was recounting it to my coach. And as someone outside of the experience, he said to me, dude, look at this, right? And so and now I'm aware of that, right? And now I can move forward with that knowledge. But at the time I was in like, whoa, she's having a full on tantrum. What's going on? And I love what you said about not blaming yourself too, Nick or Ryan, because that's something we tend to do as parents. And we do have to remember that we weren't taught this stuff. We,
Yeah.
we're the ones breaking the cycle right now. We weren't taught. We were in the cycle, and we weren't taught how to do this as a parent or how to do that as a parent. We're learning as we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
Are these
and
the
this
same
was
issues
this
you
is
had with your parents, Melissa? I mean, yeah. My parents were divorced when I was young. I never had a close relationship with my dad. If you can believe it, as an adult, like when you experience me now as an adult, you would never think that I had issues when I was a kid, but I got kicked out of the house a lot of times when I was a kid. And like
where's
kicked
that
out,
where's that
right?
badass?
No,
I'm just kidding.
but
I'm
like
just kidding.
miscommunication, like kicked out because I came home late. But why
Oh,
did I come
okay.
home late? I was at a boyfriend's house doing my homework and I fell asleep. And so then I
Mm,
came home late, right? And so I wasn't listened to in that regard. I just came home past curfew. So, I was getting in trouble. I got in trouble a lot. and then got kicked out a few times. But I was never actually up to anything bad. I was never at a bar drinking. I was
Darn
never doing,
it.
you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but on the surface, that's what it looks like, because you know, that's what was going on, right?
Yeah.
And
You
so
got in trouble
yes,
for
I
getting
guess.
straight A's?
Well, I guess, and it's, yeah, I don't know. It
I
just,
guess.
well, I mean, okay, so as a parent, look at it
That's
from the
very
other side,
judgy,
though.
Ryan.
I
Gee.
know. So
but
judgy.
but look but look at it from the other side. As a parent, my mom just
Yeah.
saw me coming home late. I was out with my boyfriend. She has no idea where I was. She has no idea whether I was telling the truth or not. I could have been out
Right.
at a bar drinking, right? I know my truth, and she knew her truth, and she had two other daughters. Like, we were 28 months from beginning to end, right? She
Yeah.
knew the drill. The other ones were out drinking. Like,
Yeah.
you parent the best you can with what you have, and you
Yeah.
can't go back and say, oh crap, and start blaming yourself and saying you're a bad parent. No, you were doing the best you could with what tools you had available to you at the time,
Right.
right?
Yep. And
Melissa's
any
trying to solve some big theoretical problem, and they're just like, they're so tired, and they're drinking energy drinks. They're trying to get straight A's
right.
and get this done, and their mom's at home going, Melissa's out with her boyfriend.
We do that as adults, but it's being informed, right? Information. Like,
Yeah.
if you as an adult now didn't have that, you didn't grow up with that, now you take on that responsibility of reparenting yourself and gaining that information. And I heard a definition of information, which, splitting up the words, means in formation, right? It means that we're creating it. And we're bringing it in. It's just the idea that we're trying to fill in what's not there. And so that's what information is. And then from there, practicing it until it becomes a natural state and a way of being. And then from there, we can teach it without thinking about it. So we do want automation. We just want useful automation, not non-useful.
Yeah.
Um, which I think this lays the foundation for wellness, is when kids feel okay being exactly who they are, exploring things, making decisions, feeling all of their emotions in all of the range. Then they can feel good enough to start exploring into the future, because a lot of times anxiety is a prediction about the future.
Yeah.
Lisa Feldman Barrett says that we feel anxious when we feel like we're not measuring up to the ideals of others, right?
Mm-hmm.
We feel depression when we feel like we're not measuring up to our own ideals. And our ideals are the imaginings we have about ourselves, or what should be. And when we don't measure up to that, there's anxiety or depression. But when somebody feels whole about themselves, they don't feel that.
Mm-hmm.
They feel confident in themselves, and they have certainty in themselves regardless of the situation. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think as parents we model that for our kids too. So there's been research out there that shows that parents who are anxious or stressed out are modeling that for their kids, and will more likely have kids that have that anxiety or that
Mm.
depression, because we're modeling those behaviors for our kids, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so if I'm anxious about some event happening, my kid is going to see that that's normal and is going to fall into the same anxiety, right? And going to deal with it the same way I'm dealing with it. Whereas if I'm not, then
Yeah.
my child is going to walk into those types of situations without that anxiety as well. And I think it's important to note that the distinction that you made with anxiety and depression. I think it's important to note that if we're on our kids all the time and pushing them to be something different than what they are, then
Mm.
we can push them from anxiety into depression.
Yeah.
Because when we're pushing our ideals and our judgments and all of that on them, all of a sudden they're moving into
Yeah.
I'm living
Good
up
enough,
to what
right?
I'm not good
Yeah.
enough, I'm not living up, right?
Yep.
And so let's talk a bit about what's normal anxiety, and when do we need to be concerned that it's
Okay.
moving into depression. Because when it's moving into depression, we really need to make sure that our kids get help, and need to be more concerned with it. Not that we're not concerned with anxiety, but at that point with anxiety, we're giving them strategies, we're helping them through it, helping them to move forward in a healthy way, and push that fear, feel the fear, but push through it, right?
Yeah.
And move forward with that fear there. Because really, largely, that's what anxiety is. It's a fear of that something in the future. But when should we actually really be concerned when it's moving into that depression? What signs do we need to look for? Well, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve to be here. I feel like you want me to move out and not live
Mm,
here anymore. They start retreating. They start coming home and taking their clothes off and putting pajamas on and getting under a blanket every day and just laying there under a blanket, not wanting to go to extracurriculars, not wanting to play with friends,
mm,
not eating. So and but let's be honest, some of those things are signs of anxiety too. So you talked about at the beginning when your daughter would say that she had a sore tummy. My son would have a sore tummy too, and he made friends with that sore tummy. He called it flip floppy, and he would
mm,
say to me, "I'm having flip floppy," and that's where his anxiety was when he didn't want it. When he was afraid to go to a party, a birthday party, it was because he thought that he had this flip floppy going on, and he thought he would get sick if he ate, right? And so we came up with strategies. Well, what if you don't eat anything there?
yeah,
What if you
wow.
do, like what if you do go and you eat something, and what's the worst that could happen, right? And we went through all of these strategies. So that can start as anxiety, but then those things can move deeper and deeper and deeper, where now he's not eating at all. His lunch comes home every day from school and he's not eating anything, right? Or he's eating one thing out of the lunch. So now we're moving into something that's deeper and that's looking more like depression. And if they're doing all those things at the same time, whole lunch is coming home, getting into pajamas, getting under the cover, for months upon months, not engaging with friends, not playing video games with them, not going out with them, not going to birthday parties, not going to family outings. Now we need to be concerned, right?
Mm. Yeah, I think this is even recognizing that in ourselves. Sometimes
Yeah.
we don't even have the language for stuff like that. I just want to come down and be my feelings, right? The other day I messaged Ryan. I'm like, here's where I'm at. This is what I'm feeling. It doesn't mean that I'm giving in to it, but that's where I'm at as a state of being, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that my feelings have overtaken my way of being, and gentle reminders from people of, hey, that's not you. That's just your feelings. Being able to take and name it flip floppy, or to give it, another name, and just recognize that it's not you. It's your body doing what your body does, but you are something separate and distinct from that. But
Yeah.
recognizing those signs, right? Ryan, go ahead.
No, it's just that when you sent me that message, there was quite a bit. Like it was just kind of a
Yeah.
little dump, right? Like
Yep.
this is how I'm feeling, and I just sat there and I didn't have to solve the problem. Sometimes as parents, we feel like we have to fix it right then and there.
Yeah.
I just listened to what he was saying, and at the end, what did I text you, Nick? Do you remember?
I love you. That was it. And also, as an acknowledgement to this too, is I don't want to put something like that on somebody else, because in my message I wrote, there's no need to respond, I'm just sharing, right? To be clear with people is, I'm not looking for you to solve my problem here. I just need a listening. I need a hearing. I need somebody to hear me. So many times in coaching, it's simply like what you did, Ryan. I acknowledge what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you. I love you. Thank you. And that's it. And you move on, right?
Yeah, and let's parent our kids that way too, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I once had an adult say to me, um, "Please stop coaching me. I didn't ask for you to coach me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just asked for you
Okay.
to listen." And I was like, "Oh, and it had me sit back. Well, let's do the same thing with our kids.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
stop coaching our kids and trying to fix it, and let's wait
Yeah.
until they ask for our help. We can offer it. We can say, 'Would you like my help with that?' And if they say no, respect that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Just sit back,
Actually,
respect that, and know that they know what they need and they'll ask for help when they need it. And that's
right.
part of that open, safe space too. Showing them
Honoring.
that you know how to just sit back,
Yeah. Lori
right?
Parks just shared, my kids staying in bed all day. Um, my daughter, Ava, she doesn't like to be hugged. I honor her not wanting to be hugged. If you want to hug, I'll hug you. If you don't want to hug, I'm not going to hug you. It's totally okay. She's one that likes to stay in bed. I think this goes back to Lori's comment, is as parents, we get to trust, as long as mentally
Yeah.
they're okay.
Yeah.
Check in and just see mentally if they're okay. If they're consistently communicating that they're okay, you kind of have to go on that.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's someone in their life, if they're not okay, that they're able to talk to. If they're not going to talk to you as a parent, pushing it isn't going to make it better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and we're also saying, I'm not saying just because a kid stays in bed all day, they're depressed. No,
Right.
I'm talking like all of those things together. My son is a very quiet kid. He has one friend. He doesn't, sit on the phone with people all day. He doesn't go out with tons of friends. He has one friend that he'll go out and spend time with. That doesn't mean he's depressed, right?
Yeah.
If he was exhibiting all of that all at the same time, staying in bed all day, coming home and putting pajamas on every day, getting under the cover, never going out and talking to friends, not eating his lunch anymore, all of those things together, then there might be some concern and some discussions there, right? But just
Yeah.
having one of those things doesn't mean your child's depressed, right?
Okay, I'm having a thought, and this is way in left field. So if I get in trouble for this, I take full responsibility for this thought, right? It's as parents, we want our kids to feel only the positive emotions. It's almost like we have emotional racism, if I were to say it that way. Don't talk to the negative emotions. Don't talk to sadness. Don't talk to anger or anxiety, because those are bad, right? We almost put this category on them like they're not to be felt, not to be hung out with, not to be around, right? And it creates this division within ourselves of I can only feel positive emotions, yet we feel the negative emotions. So when we come over to it, it's like it shuts us off from such this broad expression of life, right? It's like I have a lot of creativity that comes up when I'm depressed, right? When I feel depression. And so if emotional discrimination, that's probably a better word for it, right? But we do that with people too. It's like avoid this type of person, avoid that type of person. We want diversity in what we're creating here. You want emotional diversity. You want that expression of all the emotions, right? I don't know if that even came across right, but the idea here is we're meant to feel our feelings, all of them, positive and negative. I mean, I don't know if that
I
drummed
guess it's
anything up.
learning what to do with that range of emotions.
Yeah.
And then
and what are we
putting
doing
it
as
into
parents?
application.
Yeah, and what are we doing as parents when we're telling them that they should only be feeling the positive emotions? Why?
Yeah.
First of all, why we're doing that? Because we think we're protecting them
Yeah.
from the negative emotions, right? And it's probably
Yeah.
what we did all of our life, is just search out the positive emotions, and we never sat in the negative emotions and dealt with it. So we're giving them the same crutch that we grew up on, and then we think we're protecting them from all the negative emotions, but in reality we all need to sit in those emotions and
Yeah.
feel them and know how to deal with them. And I mean, just like we were as kids, they don't know how to deal with them. So you have to also remember, when you allow them to sit in the negative emotions, they don't know how to deal with those negative emotions. So sit back and just love and support when they're in those negative emotions, and you can help to guide them through, right?
Yeah.
When they ask for it, help to guide them through, but let them feel them and let them find their way with it, and don't punish. That's
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing when it comes to those emotions, when it comes to anxiety and all that. We have to really take a step back and really evaluate whether we should be punishing, because the first we look at that and think, go to your room. That's not polite. That's that's not how we operate in this house. That's not how we speak to each other. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, let's step back and really talk about
Yeah.
what's going on underneath. It's effing hard. I don't want to swear, but it is so hard, right?
Yeah.
As a parent, it is the hardest thing to do, to just sit back, especially if we're stressed out, we're busy, we're running kids from here to there, whatever, and then that's happening over off to the side. It's hard
A new
to
version
step
of the F
back,
word.
right?
Yep.
I know, because I don't want to
Yep.
swear, you know me, but
Yeah.
but I really wanted to emphasize that, because it is so hard to just step back out of that and go, okay, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, you think about punishment, it is what comes after judgment. Punishment comes after judgment. So we're laying a foundation of judgment for our kids. So going forward, now they have a foundation of what's punishable. So now when they move forward, they're not going to be accepting of their judgments or their emotions. They're going to be judging of their emotions. And that's where a lot of distress comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, if I can't believe we're already almost an hour here.
I know. I just looked at the clock too.
And I feel like we could keep going, but what you've given here is that acceptance as a tool, as a parent, acceptance as a tool, holding space and listening, as a tool for handling really intense emotions. And by intense emotions, I mean they're to the point that you're having a hard time coming out of those emotions. It's not that you
Mhm.
need to avoid them, you're just having a hard time re-engaging with life.
Yeah. And
So what other tools would you recommend for
I
parents?
was
Go ahead.
just gonna
Yep.
say that. Yeah, tools for your kids to actually
Yep.
help the kids. Okay, so you want a positive timeout for adults and kids. All right, let's take the negative connotation away from timeout. Let them know that it's okay to go to your special place. It doesn't have to be their bedroom, but set up a special place for them wherever it is, where they feel that they can just go and be alone. Whether
Mm,
it's a chair in the basement, whether it's a special place in their bedroom, set up a special place and know that when they go to their special place, you're going to leave them alone. And they know that when they're ready, the first thing they need to do is say, okay, I'm ready to talk now. Right? You
mm,
don't just jump back into life. You okay, I'm ready to talk now. So it gets addressed and it gets talked, but everybody has
mm,
their space. And know the same thing for parents, that they have their space too. Setting up journaling for kids. Even little kids can journal their feelings in pictures. They can draw pictures. So setting
mm.
up journaling where it's a place where they can just let out all their emotions and write things out and know that that's safe, and mom and dad aren't going to look at it unless they're invited to look at
Yeah,
it. They
beautiful,
can just, you
beautiful.
right,
Yeah,
they can,
yep,
it's a private space for them to write whatever they need to write, and mom and dad aren't unless they're invited, aren't going to have any part of it.
yeah, yep.
um in our house, when there's been anxiety, we've used breathing as a technique. We have a breathing ball that I use in yoga classes. So my kids each have a breathing ball in their bedrooms.
I
The
love the
breathing
breathing
ball,
ball.
Yeah,
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 as a
When you would do it,
visual,
yeah, it's awesome.
it helps kids to slow down their breath because they're looking at the ball as they're breathing,
yeah.
right? So it's a good
And
way to
adults.
help and adults too. Yeah. Yeah. So it helps you to slow down your breath as a visual. So get that breathing in, learn how to slow down that breath.
Yeah,
When you're feeling that anger or when you're feeling anxious, right? That breathing is really going to bring you back to neutral.
yeah,
And yoga and meditation. And I
yeah.
know that tons of people are going to say to me, how do you make a little kid lay down and meditate or sit down and meditate? Okay, we my yoga classes start at 2 years old. They start meditating at 2 years old,
Mhm.
and what that really starts with is mindfulness. So being mindful, sitting and being mindful of your breath, what's happening in your body. Okay, that's the first place of, that's where you start when you start with meditation. Just being mindful of your body. You can be mindful in everything that you do in life. You can mindfully walk around the neighborhood where everyone is just quiet, and you listen to all the sounds around your neighborhood. You look and see all the sights in your neighborhood. That's a form of meditation. So there's lots of little forms of meditation that you can do with kids to get them started with that before they get into a full-on sitting, not moving anywhere meditation.
Can we speak to
um
the mindfulness? Let's hang on that
yeah,
for a
yeah,
second. In the giants' journeys, that would be the observer self or the
yeah.
noticing self, right? The ability to just pay attention to what's going on and notice it separate from it, right? That
Yeah.
mindfulness, that's really, they're finding through research that it is one of the most powerful tools that we have. You know, that and gratitude, they're very powerful. But mindfulness puts you in a space of recognizing that you are not your emotion,
Hmm.
that you are not your events in life, that the events might happen, but you are the observer, the one that creates the narrative of that event. The, you know, the what would you call that? Composer, maestro, the yoga instructor of your life. I don't know what,
Puppet
if you have another
master.
version of that.
Yeah, the creator. You are the creator of your life, right? You're, because
Yeah.
your life is basically how you are experiencing it, right?
Mm.
So things are
Yeah.
happening around you. The exact week, the three of us could be in the exact same spot at the exact same time, and we will all have a different experience of it, and that will affect our
Yeah.
life in three different ways, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We could all turn around and say a different story about what happened to us in that 10 minutes. And
Yeah.
it will change our life trajectory in a different way based on how we speak it and how we experienced it. So, do we want our kids to speak it in a positive way and experience it in a positive way? You know, like that. That's where we need to spin it. And so Diana's talking about a different training there. Sorry,
Yeah.
the comment went away,
Dialectical
but
behavioral therapy. It's
yeah,
for intense emotions. Probably that's a very powerful tool. So, or
yeah,
tools. So
yeah. So when we're talking about mindfulness and breathing, and we're talking about listening to all of our body, that's what we're doing in my yoga classes. That's what we're doing in Storytime Yoga. So we
Yeah.
just launched we were talking about it before. I ran 100 episodes on social media in 2020, and just launched season 1, and we're bringing all of those components in to that one yoga class. So we're doing the breathing with the breathing ball at first, and then we're moving our bodies while we're finding yoga within the story that we're reading. Season 2 coming up, and so we're reading the story and we're finding the yoga within the story. We're pretending that we're a part of the story and being the story. Okay, but then what we do is and then what we do is we lay down to get into that mindfulness information that we learned in the story. But the first thing we do is that full body scan, and we start assessing where our body is. Where are we holding tension? Where can we let go? And so that scan is something, a really important strategy for kids when they're experiencing anxiety, because lots of times kids who are experiencing anxiety can't go to sleep at night. They're laying in their bed wide awake and they can't go to sleep. So they know then that will help them to relax their body enough to be able to fall asleep at night. It's a really important strategy. Did I lose you guys?
The signal is cutting out a little bit, and so
Must have been really good.
it was so good.
I can relate to not being able to sleep, so I probably need to work on that a little bit.
You don't drink a Monster before bed and expect to go to sleep, bro. It doesn't work that way. Well, Melissa, we're at time here. My daughter is anxious to go to Disneyland, and what I would wonder is as a final thought, what would you share for kids, for parents, as a final thought of something that would really help them anchor this in, or whatever you want to share around this? Did I lose you?
I lost you there for a minute, and I just thought.
Yeah, Ryan, are you having the same signal there?
I'm with you. I'm good.
You
On
are,
my
okay.
With me and you are good. It's a little choppy on the other end, but that's
Oh,
okay
we
too.
lost her.
I can give a thought too, just
Yeah,
how, and I do this with a lot of guests, but I'm so appreciative to Melissa Ross because her, I mean, just in her bio, you could see like how much she's worked on things for herself.
yeah, yeah,
But when you see her in person, it doesn't even hold a candle to what she can do for other people. She can get you in a room and talk to you, and one-on-one or in a group or something like this, and make a massive giant impact on people's lives. So I, for one, have been impacted by Melissa in a way that has changed me for the rest of my life. And so go back, listen to these things, find Melissa, go find Breathe With Me Yoga, find anything that she's doing, support her, love her, um, be involved. She's coming back here. This is perfect.
there
So
we
we
are.
can.
There
There we
she
are.
is. Yeah,
I don't know what happened there. Everything just died all of a sudden.
It was perfect. It was meant to be.
it's
And
good timing.
so, and then Melissa, I'll let you finish here in just a second, but I just wanted to say that just go find whatever Melissa's doing, go find and support and love her, because she is the epitome of doing what she says she'll do, and she loves people unconditionally. She's just one of my biggest heroes and giants in my life. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Melissa, did you want to share a final thought here? And
Yeah, I'll just wrap up by saying,
yep,
the most important thing we can do is listen, 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 create that safe space, acknowledge when we haven't created that safe space. Don't blame. Just know that we're doing the best that we can with the tools that we have, and continue to just do your best to create that safe space where you can have that conversation with your kids, and that listening in that conversation is the best place to start.
yeah, this is a beautiful conversation. Thank you. I love you. our friend from Canada. That's what I like to say, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And have everybody check out the season 1 of Storytime Yoga. It is
yeah, perfect.
it's on the In the Limelight channel on Binge Networks right now. It launched 2 weeks ago, and it will be launching on the YouTube channel today. I'll be uploading it. So
Awesome.
season 1
Okay, we'll do that. And then also, there are a couple people on here that I think collaboration might be a good fit. Amy Burney or Diana Strong. Um, just, I don't even know where it would go, but you guys might reach out to each other and talk, because I could see some I don't know, supporting ideas. I see. This is where I say, you know, what's that thing?
2, 3, 4, 5 giants are better than one
Right?
giant.
Before. Anyway, go out there and connect with each other. Even if, you know, you see somebody in the comments, do that. Like, connect with somebody in the comments. Say, hey, I saw your comment. I really love that. It's a great way to build community and collaborate and just continue growing in new ways. And so, Melissa, we love you. We appreciate you. For those that have been watching, same thing here. We wish you a giant day. Make sure that you recognize, like we say with the X, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're right on time. Keep doing what you're doing. Trust it. Look for opportunities, because when you're doing what you're doing, it's amazing what shows up. You know, it's like we get so focused on what we're doing that we forget to look for options, right?
Yeah.
And so watch for the serendipity that's going to show up in your life. Anyway, that's it for today. Go make it a giant day, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thank
Love
you.
you too.